You find authentic Maltese cuisine? At Georgie's on Vista, in the heart of Fraser Rise. We have a menu to suit everyone, which includes kids and seniors meals, and a cocktail list that will need you to come back several times to get through. Our specialty nights are a big hit. Tuesday is $20 Palmer night with a selection of Palmers to choose from. Kids eat free Wednesday night. With every paid adult meal, you get one free kids meal. Thursday is Maltese night. Check out the Maltese specials on our specials board. And Friday night we have happy hour between 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Be sure to book your table to avoid disappointment. Bookings can be made via our website, georgiesonvista.com.au. See you at Georgie's on Vista. You'll find us at Caroline Springs, George Cross.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Football Out West show. Tonight we start off on a very sombre note. We've just received news in the last hour that one of our most loyal and one of our most dedicated listeners and a true fan of the show and a true fan of the football community in the Western Suburbs, MAXI SENTIC, passed overnight. To say we're devastated is an understatement. But the show must go on, and I think this is something that Maxi would have liked. So our heartfelt condolences go out to his wife, Maya, and to everyone who knew Maxi Sentic at the St Albans Saints soccer club, at Gorse Bears. And later on, we will have an opportunity to talk, to pay a little bit of tribute to Maxi. My name is Tonshi Prusats, and joining me, Steve and Craig, gentlemen. What a shock. What an absolute shock, Craig. Firstly to you.
Yes, Tonch, when you called me literally 45 minutes ago with the news, just devastated. I did ring and speak to somebody from St Albans Saints, and they weren't aware of it at the time either, so they made a few phone calls and come back and confirmed it's the case. As you said, 36 years old. Young family. Just a month ago, he posted on social media that they're expecting their second child. Devastating news for everybody. It's just seem to be having lots of them at the moment, Tonch, and you just don't think anything can happen, but it just shows you just don't know what's around the corner. But Maxi was a loyal listener, good friend. He'll be missed by a lot of people.
A very, very positive spirit in our community. And Craig, we're talking off air today. We're both constantly surprised who tunes into the Football Out West show, who listens to the Football Out West show. To all those people, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, tuning in, week out. And look, not everyone joins in the chat. There seems to be this little community that always joins in, week out. Brenton Ray, Mark Sultana, president of our major sponsor, George Cross, Santino Mamone, Michael Ong, and Maxi Sentic. He was always there. He was a regular. He was Steve. He used to watch the Geelong show. He doesn't live in Geelong. He used to watch and tune into the Geelong show and comment. It's absolutely devastating. But when you've got a young man of mid-30s, young daughter, another one on the way. Absolutely tragic, Steve.
Yeah, it's absolutely gut-wrenching, and such a somber note to start the show on, a show that, because of people like Maxi, that we can have this show every week and make it a real celebration of our community, of our football. And he's that kind of guy, and really fortunate to have the privilege of having met Maxi down at Churchill Reserve. And he is that kind of guy. Maybe you don't even really know him, and he'll come up to you and make himself known and have a bit of a chat, and just a really lovely, down-to-earth guy. And just in the prime of his life, and taken away from us. It's really hard to find words to communicate it at the moment, other than to really wish our most heartfelt condolences to everyone and so many people that he will have touched in his life in one way or another, and friends and family. So I think you've put it very well, Tonch, and Craig as well. So it's hard to move on and just go on about a business and talk about football. But as you said, that's what he would want us to do, and we'll do our best to do that tonight. And of course, almost fittingly, we will be talking about St Albans tonight in our first part of the show as well.
Craig, who we got tonight?
Well, we spoke earlier on, didn't we, just before we move on, about whether we should actually do the show. Situation. But given that Maxi is a loyal listener, and as you said, Steve, it's people like Maxi is the reason we do the show. So it seems right that we can continue, and seems right that we pay homage to him as well. And as you said, it's fate that St Albans is going to be part of the show tonight. So let's carry on and make it a good show. And difficult to put into words.
Life goes on, or as Ned Kelly used to say, such is life, for those of you that know Notorious Bushranger, but it is such is life. We're going to go ahead. We're going to push ahead as best we can. But once again, on behalf of all of us here at the Football Outlet Show, on behalf of the entire football community in the Western Suburbs, to everyone associated at St Albans Dynamo, to everyone associated at the Gorsuch Bears Soccer Club, regardless if you're a fan of the club or not, you are definitely a fan of this man if you ever got to know him. I met him twice in my life, but I seen he just felt like a brother to me because he was there. He was a constant, week in, week out. We will miss you. We will miss you, Maxi.
George's on Vista is in the heart of Fraser Rise. You'll find us at Caroline Springs George Cross. Looking for a bit of fun with your meals? Tuesday night is bingo night. Bingo books are $2, eyes down at $7. And we have a special bingo menu for you to choose from, so be sure to get in early and grab a bite to eat beforehand. Friday night is poker night. Registration is from 6:30pm, with poker starting at 7:30pm. Why not join us beforehand for happy hour? Kicks off at 5:30. We're also on Uber Eats, so you can enjoy your favourite Georgie's meals in the comfort of your own home. Find us on the app. Dining in? Be sure to book your table to avoid disappointment. Bookings can be made via our website, georgiesonvista.com.au.
Life goes on, the show goes on. The football world is an amazing place because there's always something when you're down and out. It picks you up like no other way. I don't think there's very few women in this world that can pick you up the way football can. And that's what we're going to celebrate tonight. We're going to celebrate football. So, Steve, let's get on with the news. Lots been happening overnight and in the last 24 hours. Shall we start with the Champions League?
Yeah, well, we'll start with news that won't lift the spirits of any Liverpool fans, and condolences on this result to Brenton Ray and Liverpool fans in there. But of course, really putting into context, it is only a game. But that was the 1-0 result that got Real Madrid yet another Champions League title overnight, with Vinicius Jr. scoring just inside the 1 hour mark. A really good game from Thibaut Courtois to thwart the Liverpool attackers that just couldn't find a way past him. And the silverware goes back to Madrid. So Yep, the most successful team in the European Champions League history just claims another title, and a tough week for Liverpool, losing their hopes of going for a quadruple, but they still have a cup double with the League Cup and the FA Cup. So not a bad season all in all, and very close to winning a EPL and Champions League title, about as close as you can get to both. So that is the end of the European showpiece for the season.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a short break, and then the European Nations tournament kicks off next month, I should say. But Craig, Real Madrid, what a triumphant end of the season, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of Liverpool fans out there, and they'll be very devastated, that's for sure. But look, the season started. They didn't get their hands on some of the recruits that they thought they were going to get. But look, end of the year, they've become, or end of the football year, they become very triumphant. What's this going to do for Real Madrid?
Oh, look, Real Madrid are huge. They're a huge global football club. I was listening to the commentary of it this morning, and I don't think anybody really thought that Real Madrid would get to the final. And you look at the teams that they've beat along the way. So I suppose sometimes you look at it and you think they've deserved it. I think most people in the world would have liked Liverpool to win it, but on the night they weren't good enough. And at the end of the day, Courtois was the man of the match for a reason. He's the goalkeeper. He stopped just about everything that was thrown at him. I think 20 shots Liverpool had compared to the Real Madrid's 3. But the one that mattered was the one that went back in the net, Tonch, and that's why they're the champions yet again.
Yeah.
In terms of your question about players and things, look, I think they're absolutely gutted. You've only got to watch the news on Mbappe. Everything was geared around Mbappe going to the club. It was going to be the new holy grail, and things were going to start again. But he's not going. But I have to say, Carlo Ancelotti, what a coach, Steve, eh?
Yeah, sensational. Like, people think that Carlo Ancelotti is past his prime. Is the game's moved on. The Jurgen Klopps of this world are the be all and end all these days. But he just shows he's got that much wealth of experience. He's got a good backroom staff under him. His squad is still very deep, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Real Madrid next season. Is he going to stay around and go again? And Barcelona's going to be on the improve now under Xavi. They're going to get their act together. And I think it's going to be an interesting season in La Liga for that football competition next year. And I think we'll be following that a lot more closely than we did this season.
Yeah, Craig, now off the field, there was something like 10,000 fans, were Liverpool fans, all late to get in, locked out. There was some sort of logistical issues, logistical nightmares. It's one of the biggest showpieces around. How can you stuff it up? How can organisers honestly stuff things up like that? I'm glad there wasn't no stampede or anything like that, but it could quite easily have got to something very, very undesirable. What are your comments on all of that?
Yeah, look, I was up with a lot of people early hours this morning to be told that the game was delayed for obviously issues getting into the ground. From what they were saying, there was only one turnstile open. It doesn't make sense at all. You're quite right. There could have been massive problems, and given the fact of what's happened to Liverpool in the past, it was the last thing that anybody would have wanted. But I'm sure UEFA, I'm sure Liverpool will be looking at this, and I'm sure there'll be an inquiry of some sorts around what happened.
That'd have to be. Moving to matters close at hand, Steve. We're all wearing our green and black, or there's green and black everywhere. Melbourne, and in particular the west of Melbourne, is indeed bathed in green and black tonight. And if you've just fallen down from the sky in the last shower, we haven't had a shower lately.
Come down the last shower.
Yeah, you'll obviously know that Western United are A-League champions, mate. What a story! What an incredible story in just 3 years.
It is. It's an inspiring story for me, and fortunate enough to having had been there last night and behind the Western Service Crew area and all these supporters who just pulled this thing together in the last 3 years and everything on field that's happened in that time, the recruits that they've got right, and the night I'd probably put it down to a couple of moments. And I think there was a lot of hope that perhaps Western could get that early goal, given that they've had so many 1-0 wins this season, and they know how to go on with it once they do get that first goal, and to
That was
perhaps
the key, Steve, wasn't it?
sorry,
That was the key. That first goal was the
yeah,
key.
and perhaps to do that in front of the home end of fans that were
Yeah.
situated at that northern end, and you sort of think, oh, they've started well, they won a corner, and then the first corner, they only had one corner for the match, and of course Prijovic making the impact and going in the end off Nuno Reis. That moment there, like, it was just almost surreal. It really dictated terms for the game. The game state was completely changed from there on in, and the game was on Western United's terms, all importantly. And Prijovic, what a quality striker he is. But the other moment that I remember most is probably Leo Lacroix blocking out an attempt where Melbourne City did get in behind. And what a good
It was the way he celebrated.
smart footballer. Such a smart footballer and such a good athlete as well. The way he puts himself about on the pitch and the way that him and the other back four and obviously Jamie Young work together. There was one moment where he got in, he blocked out Melbourne City in one of their few attempts on goal, and he turned around to the crowd and he just raised the fist and just said, "How about that, boys?" You just think these guys have got it. They're not getting beaten. Nothing's getting past this team. And that's the way it went. And they went on to win 2-0. Alexander Prijovic won the player of the match, and probably rightly so. But, Lacroix and Jamie Young, of course, were immense, as they had been all series. And they just got that settled team in the final series, and they were able to go on with it. They finished the home and away season terribly. They didn't look good. But they got that set team. They just put in the same thing. Everyone knew their jobs. And there's moments like that, just to think that that's come about in 3 years. They weren't meant to do this soon. They weren't meant to be doing anything until they had their own stadium. And to see just through players that aren't always maybe the most technically gifted, like Connor Payne, but they're just putting in those grit and determination. And it just makes you feel inspired to go out there and try and achieve something great yourself just from watching it, I think. Craig.
Yeah, look, I watched the game. As soon as that first goal went in, that was it. For me, they were never going to lose that game once that first goal went in. I think 11 clean.
Well, there was a great statistic last night by, I think Simon Hill said it. Yeah, was it something like 19 games that was it 19 games that Western United have taken a 1-0 lead, and they've won
11.
14 of those games or something like that. Is that right?
11 games they've won. They've won. Yeah.
6, I think, are drawn, and maybe it might have been 17, and only one out of those 17 games did they lose. That's I think this year, is that right? So it was an interesting statistic. But there's all these little subplots. There's plots and subplots, and we talk about Melbourne City having this vast amount of resources and money, and they're now the aristocrats of Australian football. We talk what Steve just mentioned. The nomads of the league, Western United, what is it? They played at 5 or 6 different venues. And then this story is a ripper. This is great. This photo, for me, encapsulates it all. John Aloisi, sacked by Melbourne Heart, was 3-4 years ago, thought that's it. He's never going to be able to coach. He won't get a coaching offer after he's let go of Brisbane Roar. He's been appointed coach of Western United this year. Not only does he take them to the grand final, but he takes them to their maiden title. That is inspiring stuff.
Look, we had John on the show, didn't we? We was when
we did indeed.
Got the job, and he was in hotel quarantine at the time, and I remember him saying that he's taken the job because of the backing that the club have given him and the opportunity to win the league. Now, just put that photo up again for me a sec there, Tonch.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things I want to say. I know that there's some supporters from other clubs here, but look at that crowd there behind. And, I know there was a lot of talk about, there'll be 13 supporters at the final. The Western suburbs really got out and supported Western United in this game. Steve, you were there. I only saw it from the TV. But there was 22,000 people there at the ground. That photo there says a lot for me of, what I think the club can do over the next couple of years. This is as you said, Steve, come very, very early. Nobody was expecting this, but this is going to do wonders for the club for the next couple of years in getting supporters on board. We can talk about Melbourne Victory having 24,000 season ticket holders or members, but we have to remember they were the first team in Victoria, so they're going to have a higher volume of supporters than a Western United who've been going for 3 years. So that guy on the photo there has done a remarkable job. For me, it comes down to one thing: culture. He's built the
That's
culture.
exact. Yes, yes, yes.
Culture within that group that do not give up. You know, you talk about Melbourne City and the money that they have behind the club, or the owners of the club. But that, as we know, will only get you so far. The rest comes down to the culture that you have as a coach and the type of players that you bring into your football club. When everybody looked at Diamante coming in, and I was one of those guys thinking, he's 36 years old, he's played in the Premier League, he's an Italian cap. Is he coming for the wrong reasons? But he's been sensational. The centre-back has come in. He looks as if he loves life here in Australia. You know, so you have to put your hands up not only to John Aloisi, to the board, to the owners who have backed him, and he's brought the right players in. And I think last night's result will be the stepping stone for them. They're going to go on to bigger things, without a shadow of a doubt. But everybody has to just wait a little bit. Don't get too excited. But it is an exciting time now.
Yeah. Now, we had Chris Palavanis, the CEO of Western United, on last week's show, as we did with Neil Kilkenny. We tried tonight, but they're probably celebrating, and who can blame them? But Steve, as you said, you've seen him in Geelong, you've seen him in Ballarat, you've seen him in Melbourne, you've followed him, as we have all these last few years. But the highs and lows, and there've been so many of them in such a short time. But one of the things that Chris really talked about was how unique they are, how different they are. And that's something as Neil Kilkenny said as well. There's that real atmosphere. It's a family club. I know we've had down in Geelong, we've had some press of some fans who've been part of the Western service crew and how well they've been received. And we're talking kids and mums and that sort of stuff. So they're very unique in a lot of ways. But I just want to show that photo there of the family day at Graysland. By the way, if you've not been to Graysland in Spotswood next to Science Works, it is a foodie's delight. And they had it is.
Josh Parrish hasn't even been there. He doesn't even know about it. So
I only discovered this place, gents. I only discovered this place about a month ago. Not even a month ago, about 3 weeks ago. And I've just been raving on about it non-stop. But look at the green and the green and black there. Have a look at there's Aloisi with that crowd before. Bring that photo there. If you zone in on the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see Steve Horvath. Now, Steve Horvath, one of the co-founders, one of the football director, but he's there with the fans. He's mingling with the fans. He's just one of the fans. Does that not tell you that this club is something very unique and is building something special? You know, after 3 years, they've achieved their first grand final success, but there's something that's going to happen big, and we're on the cusp of history. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, that is the case. You've articulated it very well, Tonchi, and it's the situation where obviously it's a small club, it's a small fan base. It's almost like they're a local club, and like the fans almost all know each other. But not only that, the board and the directors, and you see Chris and the CEO and his staff, they all came down to stand in front of the Western service crew in the active area in the injury time in the second half. And I don't know if you would see other clubs doing things like that. And it's just those little gestures where you see, and like often Chris's son, I think, is involved as getting on board and jumping in with the active guys and stuff, things like that too. It's like there's a genuine community feel within the club, which is lacking perhaps from other clubs that are following a corporate direction, a direction that's about, big business, about, probably, profits, of course, they all are. But there's just that real genuine local football feel, and they feel like they could almost be like a state league club at times, but they're in the National League. And then not only that, they're winning the National League.
but that's what it does feel like, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, and that's why it's unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's an incredible story. We will, I mean, we will hear all sorts of stories. There will be sub stories, no doubt, in the days and weeks ahead. But for the moment, congratulations to everyone involved at Western United. It is amazing. It is incredible. And look, from someone who's, I guess, self-confessed, I've gone cold on the A-League in recent years, I suppose, and even Western United. You know, 1 minute they were a Geelong club, next minute they're nomadic. I must say, I am inspired with how they've gone about it and the success that they've achieved in such a short term. And look, it can only be good for football. It certainly cannot be bad for football, especially in the Western region. I think it's going to be amazing, and time will tell. We'll see what does eventually. But Craig, next stop, where do you see the next step for them? Obviously, down the track they're going to get new stadium and what you're not, but that might be in a few years' time. What do they do now to capitalise on this success?
Oh, look, I think they continue to do what they've done. They've done, for me, everything spot on. They've tried to make it, you know, as Steve said, they're a family environment. They want people on board. Like I said, this will have done them a world of good last night. Yes, we know that the stadium's going to take a while. We've known about that for 3 years, that it's going to take time. I think next year we'll see. For me, I would like to see them playing at Amy Park. I know it's not the western suburbs, but it's the only ground suitable, really, of holding a A-League game with supporters able to go. And I think, you know, they do very well there as a club. Their results have been fantastic there, as Chris said last week. So look, for me, it's more of the same. Continue to do what they're doing. You know, invest their time in the western suburbs, getting people on board. What will be really interesting, and we'll wait for the comments to pipe up once I've said this, be interesting to see how many of the supporters that were there last night will be back in 2022-23 season, because it's imperative that they continue.
Yeah, I remember the old National Soccer League in the late 80s or early 90s. I think it was Brisbane Strikers sold out Suncorp Stadium at the time, 50,000 fans. And people said, this is amazing. They're a non-ethnic club. They're going to be huge. This is the start of something big. They didn't follow through with it. And the following year, they went back to getting their 3,500 or 4,000 spectators on average. And that was a lesson to be learned from back then. And look, you know, it was the same sort of thing here. They need to follow that up. Craig, I don't know about you guys. I'd love to see a different tack. I'd like to see them go to a boutique stadium, develop a boutique stadium, and I think George Cross's City Vista is the perfect place because they've been based there before, and get a 2,000-seater grandstand, whether it's sort of a temporary one or a permanent one on the outer. And you might only have a capacity of 4,000 or 5,000, but guess what? Open it to your members only first, and then maybe on game day or a day before, open it to the public and get every game sold out. And you know what? I think they'll build an identity that way. I don't like Amy Park. I don't know. I think it's something about the fact that there's two other clubs there, and it becomes very AFL-like, you know, where it's sort of like ground rationalisation. I'd rather they have a 4,000 or 5,000 seater stadium that's sold out every week. And, you know, there's a waiting list for tickets. But that's my thought.
Yeah,
Steve,
I think,
what's your thought?
Well, yeah, look, I think, Toshi, that, you know, the word is that they are getting underway with the second stadium at their new site. That'll be ready before the main one. That'll hold 5,000,
I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea, is that once that's available, they'll play. You know, they'll play matches there based on demand. And if they do start pulling, you know, much bigger crowds, perhaps they might just play lower drawing teams there, and the bigger drawing teams might still be at Amy. But yeah, look, it looks like they'll still be at Amy. They'll still probably be taking a couple of games to Mars, maybe a couple of games to Geelong back in the early part of the season, and the rest of them at Amy. Maybe they'll still go to Lonnie as well, I'd say, for a couple of games down in Tassie. They seem to get good results down there as well. And then, once their second stadium is ready, which will be ready before the main one, they'll probably look to go there. So that'll be that 5,000 capacity one that they'll have, which would be a asset because if you pack that out with 5,000 and you're right around the pitch, you'll be even closer to the action than you are at Amy Park because it's not a rugby ground. That behind the goals will be right up against the pitch like an EPL ground. So fantastic things to look forward to there. So I think the believers, the true believers have really come out of the woodwork now, and there's a lot to be excited about. It's going to be a short off season too, we understand, because there is a World Cup midway through the season next season, and that changes as well. So, and then obviously the junior academies and the A-League women's team as well, which is a really, really big detail as well. So there's so much going on there. And I think, like you say, Craig, the exact thing they want to do is don't change at all. Don't change. Just keep doing what you're doing, because what they're doing is working, and it's engaging with the right people who will be the kind of people who will keep coming back because they're there for pure football enjoyment reasons, not for just, like you say, like that sort of new and shiny thing, like the Brisbane Strikers example that you said. It's like it's substance.
Yeah. Now, before we talk to our guest tonight, KRUNI RAZOV, the coach of St Albans Saints, let's look at NPL 3, Craig. Let's have a look at that Western United Academy side. So we'll put the ladder up there as well. Now, this is the so it's basically the top two teams will go through. And then there's, I think, a promotion playoff spot, if I'm not mistaken. Third and fourth place teams play off against, I think it's the is it the 11 and 12 place teams? Because next year, NPL 2 and NPL 3 is going to 14 teams. So it is imperative for Western United to get into that top four. But really, ideally, what they want to do is they want to get into the top two. They're travelling really well. And if they're going to get an academy next year, a full academy going all the way from under 14s upwards, it's very important that the second team gets promoted into NPL 2 and plays at the highest level. What's your thoughts on this team? Have you been following them much? Do you know much about the Western United youth team?
Yeah, look, I'll firstly just comment on your comment there. I think it's really important, Tonch, as for football, that your Melbourne City, your Melbourne Victories, your Western Uniteds, the professional clubs in this country are all playing in NPL. Not NPL 2 or NPL 3. You want these young kids playing against the best players they can within Victoria that's not in the professional setup. So that's my first comment. They need to be in that NPL. They're not. But that's where I believe they should be playing if we're going to develop them the way that we need to develop them. No disrespect to, some of the teams in NPL 3, Whittle St Rangers and Dandenong, Ballarat City of the world, but they need to be playing against your South Melbournes, your Melbourne Knights, your Bentley Greens week in, week out. That's the way they're going to develop as young footballers. Have I seen them play? Yes, I have. I've seen them a couple of times up at City Vista. They're a good young side. They're coming up against experienced players. I watched them against Preston Lions the other week, and I have to say that was literally men against boys. And you're going to get that. But you have to remember what's the club trying to do? They're trying to develop footballers for their senior team. Preston Lions is the senior team. Western United are trying to develop those players for the senior team, same as Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City. Mm-hmm. So, look, they've got the basis right. They've, as you said, Steve, they've got a women's league, a women's team entering the competition next year. There's a lot of work behind the scenes going on at the ground with the academy side of things, and like I said, it's watch this space because they've done everything right, and I can't fault them in what they've done so far. Let's hope that they continue in the same vein as they have and continue to go from strength to strength because football needs it.
Yeah. Folks, we're going to take a very, very short break indeed. When we come back, we've got our guest for tonight, the St Albans Saints coach, KRUNI RAZOV. His team had a massive, massive win against sister club Dandenong City, and we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking all about the NPL and so much happening there. We're just past the halfway mark of the season. Lots to talk about. This show tonight, as we've said, is dedicated to our good friend, a listener of the show, MAXI SENTIC, who tragically has passed away overnight. And once again, our sincerest condolences to MAXI's young family and to everyone who absolutely knew Maxi in any way, shape, or form. One of the comments, he was a regular on the show, and Santino Mamone says a really good thing. They used to always have little banter and little chats and little talks and everything. He goes, I never met the guy, never actually ever met the guy, but I'm just devastated. I'm shocked and I was crying. Never met him, but I was always there when I was down. He always used to was a real positive person wherever he went. So our sincerest and deepest condolences to everyone who knew Maxi Sentic. Folks, we'll be away. We'll be away very, very for a short time. When we come back, our guest, and it's time to talk NPL KRUNI RAZOV. Don't go away, folks.
Looking for a space for your next function? At George's on Vista, our function room caters for all types of functions. Milestone birthdays, special religious occasions, work functions, hens or bachelor nights, baby showers, or whatever reason you decide is a good idea to get together with family and friends. Contact our friendly staff who will help you put together a menu that will suit your special occasion. Inquiries can be made via our website, georgesonvista.com.au. George's on Vista, in the heart of Fraser Rise. You'll find us at Caroline Springs, George Cross.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. It is episode 90, season 4. It's Craig's just left the building. I think there it is. He's back, back bigger and better.
Good shuttle mate. He's done there. Well done.
Yeah, he's done it very well. Craig, we've got our next guest. Would you like to do the introductions for our next guest?
Yeah, sure. St Albans head coach. Great to get him on the show. Massive win for the club last night. KRUNI RAZOV, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Very well.
Thanks
for joining us on this somber evening. Unfortunately, we spoke just before the show, and devastated for everybody who knew Maxi and you knew him reasonably well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Guttering news, to come through in the last couple of hours, and always around St Albans and part of Gorspitch, and even coached my daughter and coached the women's team down there, and so I knew him very, very well. And like I said, just heart-wrenching to hear news for such a young person with young kids to something like that to happen. So it's still sinking in, to be honest.
Yeah, mate, we're all in shock at the moment. We just, we toyed with the idea about not even going on with the show tonight. We just weren't, I think, in the headspace. But then we thought, Maxi was always the first to comment, always the first to jump on. He loved this show. He loved our sister program, the Oz Crow Show, and he even tuned into the Geelong Region Soccer Show. So if ever there was anyone that would have wanted us to go ahead, it was definitely Maxi. Now, in Maxi's, I guess, last hours, he saw his beloved St Albans Saints down a sister club, Dandenong City, 2-1 in the Croatian derby in the NPL. Let's talk about some positive things there. It was a real must-win game, KRUNI. How did you approach this? Because in these derby games, the form book always goes out the window. And how did you rally the troops around this vital game?
Well, they knew that the boys had a good week on the track, and they knew that Dandy was going to be, a very hard opponent. And they've played really well. I've watched them the last 3 or 4 weeks. They played South Melbourne, the Bentley Greens, and Melbourne Knights, so they were good. And we knew we needed to be at our best to get a result. The boys knew that, we didn't want to drop, 3 points or even lose, should I say, to make it really interesting on the table. But we went there with a game plan and we stuck by it. And in the end, we got the result that I believe we thoroughly deserved.
And KRUNI, how important has the signing of Xander Guy been for the side this season? We saw it again yesterday. The game looked like it was set to maybe end at 0-0, and then he pops up and scores a double in the 85th, another one in injury time. It's 7 for him this season. You must be happy that you picked him up. And how important is he to your side at the moment?
Oh, yeah, Xander's been fantastic. To be honest, he's only played probably 70% of the games. He's missed a fair few games. He only got back yesterday after missing the previous 2 games with a groin injury. So we went
on the Magic, didn't he? Came off very early in that game of Magic,
yes,
didn't he?
Correct. Craig, in the first probably 15, 20 minutes in that game, he came off and missed that one and last week's game as well. So it was touch and go. Does he play? Do we risk him? And he pulled up well. So, but yeah, Steve, in saying that, he's been a fantastic pickup. To be honest with you, when I first signed him, he was supposed to be, looked at him to play as a winger, and we've had a few injuries. I knew we could play up front, and we sort of threw him up front against Heidelberg, and he hasn't looked back.
Excellent. You found a new position for him, I think.
Yeah, let's go through some of the results, guys. So obviously St Albans defeating Dandenong 2-1. I must commend all the NPL side there in Football Victoria, one of the rare ones where all the results are uploaded by Sunday night. But Craig, did you want to go through those results, starting with the Oakley Cannons game against Eastern Lions on Friday night?
Yeah, I think this was probably the I should say shocks, but there was a few over the weekend. But Eastern Lions were winning with this game at one point. I was speaking to Chris Taylor actually last evening at the George Cross game, and Eastern Lions played very, very well by all accounts, and that game finished in 1-1. So two big points dropped there for Oakley Cannons, but Eastern Lions are doing everything they can to stay in this this league. That's for sure. At Avondale, 1-1, in which Steve commented on this. So you're probably the better one to talk about this game, Steve.
Yeah, good match this one. Both of these sides going at each other, and the Knights were maybe benefited. Avondale missing Liam Boland, who just become a father the night before. Also Valentini, who hurt his knee, and Blake Carpenter was out, possibly with suspension. I'm not sure, but the makeshift Avondale side took the lead through Dylan Jacoupy in the first half, the right back going on an adventurous run all the way into the 6-yard box and scoring. But then Luka Chalic, who started on the bench in this game, which was an interesting selection. I'm not sure if it was for rotation after their midweek Wednesday night game against the Cannons, or if there was possibly some sort of form or performance reasons. But he came on and scored a stunning goal. Check that one out. It's on my socials, at least. I've reposted that one from the Knights account. A really, really good goal off the bench. Luka Chalic should level it up. And the second half was really entertaining football. Both sides just going at each other. And you have to commend the coaches, Steve Bebic and Zoki Markowski, for both going out to play football with a good intent, and it made it an entertaining game.
Yeah.
In other games, Humes... Sorry, go on, Craig.
No, go on, Tom, off you go.
I was just going to say very quickly, we'll go through the other results as well. Hume City defeated Port Melbourne Sharks 2-1. Green Gully,
result, by the way.
Yeah, very good result.
And we spoke to Goran Lozanovsky last Sunday on the show. Obviously, he's gone in there to do a job, and he's got 2 wins from his first 2 games. From his first 3 games. So, and against much fancied Port Melbourne Sharks, who have been
in good form lately.
One of the prizes for sure.
Yeah. Green Gully, big thumping win over Altona Magic 4-0. South Melbourne, they didn't have it all their way. 3-2 thriller there against Bentley Greens, and in Heidelberg United, a 2-1 away win at Dandenong Thunder. So there we look at the ladder. South Melbourne, Oakley Cannons. Oakley Cannons had a gilt-edged opportunity to sort of draw closer to South Melbourne, which they did last week. They've let that go. Green Gully now pushing up, overtaking Port Melbourne. Avondale dropping points there. KRUNI, I think you guys are up against Avondale this week, so that's going to be an interesting clash. Did you watch much of that game against the Knights that Steve commentated?
No, I haven't seen any of that game. I'll get a chance to watch that sometime during the week and get feedback on that. But yeah, we know what Avondale's like. Very, very solid side and very good side, and all over the park, and a lot of depth here. When they use their bench, they use their bench.
And you beat them on their patch earlier in the season as well, which was a sensational effort for your side. How much confidence does that give you second time round to go and play the return match at Churchill?
Absolutely. Would love to do it again. We know it's going to be a big task, but the boys are up, especially after a derby win yesterday. The boys will be up for it. There's no doubt about it.
I'm just looking at that result yesterday. That really did... you needed those 3 points there, didn't you, KRUNI? You were probably 11th or 12th before yesterday. That has lifted you back up to 9th. But now you're only, you're only 1 win off 6th. So, that's the difference in this league this year, that it is, teams are beating everybody, and you only need 1 or 2 results, and you're back in the mix at the top of the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see how tight that table is, especially from that 5th down to almost to that 11th. And we always knew that Hume has a lot of quality in that side, that eventually they would come good, and they have, and we believe they will. But going back to that ladder, you lose 2 games, and we lost 4 in a trot, and we were at 6th at one stage, and it pushed us all the way down. But 3 points does remarkable things on that table.
Now, obviously, the next couple of weeks there is a transfer window come the
round 18.
In the next couple of weeks, end of July, I think. Is it the club's ambition to maybe bring a few new lads, freshen it up a little bit, and give it a big push towards the end of the season?
Yeah, we're looking at it. There's no doubt about that. I think every club will be looking down that path. So we're looking to bring 2 or 3 new faces in that fit the mold, and the personalities and the people that we want to bring in. So we're looking to do that, and hopefully that will transpire in the next couple of weeks and change a few things as well. So it's more about trying to get the right personnel in and trying to keep them for next year and bringing them in a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and look, we spoke earlier on about Western United and how well they've done with the side that they've got, and I mentioned there about the culture within the club. Now we know obviously St Albans have got a very strong culture behind them, and the way they've played and how you guys got into the MPL in the first place was by grit and desire and determination. I think in that year that you got promoted, I think you were down. I can't remember what the statistic was, but it was some ridiculous statistic where you were down in 8 games but came back to win in the final 8 or 10 games. That's going to be really important with the type of person you bring in. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't have the finances that a lot of these, probably 8 or 10 of these clubs have, and that's understandable. And I know that that's where the club is at. And so we bring in the people that, sort of, if you want to say, play for the shirt or play for their teammates and play for the club and do all those things. And if they get better and they want to move on, we understand that. But yeah, speaking to the person and bringing in the right characters is very important for us.
And KRUNI, looking at the off-field matters or your off-field staff, we've had Jason Jerry on here previously, spoken very well on behalf of the club. Is there any of your backroom staff that you want to give a shout out as to what they're doing to help you make your job easier this season?
Yeah, we've got a couple of new faces. We've got Paul Donnelly. He's my assistant coach. He's been fantastic. Brings a new lease of life in some areas, and he's a bit more hands-on this year. Of sort of still hands-on, but more of behind the scenes and one-on-one with the players. So Donis is taking a lot of those sessions. Nick Quinn is our strength and conditioning. He's been fantastic as well. And Adam Hiroshian, our goalkeeper coach, does a fantastic job with our keepers, and Jason Sherry and our physios, and Rob Krajicic and Pat in the 21s are pushing those 21s. The results aren't always there, unfortunately, if you have a look at it, but they're doing a really, really good job trying to promote some of these kids. And to be honest, we've blooded 4 new youngsters this year. We've had a lot of injuries over the last 4 to 5 weeks, and we've blooded 4 youngsters this year under the age of 20, 21. So it's been good.
Fantastic.
And also, I was going to say on match day as well, just one more thing as well on match day. You seem to pull pretty good crowds compared to some of the other NPL clubs as well up there at St Albans. How much of an advantage is playing at home up there on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. kickoffs when there's a good crowd gathered?
To be honest, it's the only Sunday game usually apart from Heidelberg. So a lot of people gather and come for a Sunday afternoon to watch. The worst part about it is our home form used to be so good. This year it's not great at all.
And you know why?
Is it too much pressure, all those guys turning up?
Yeah.
You know why, Drew? You've relayed the pitch, mate.
Sorry?
You've relayed the pitch. It's actually a nice pitch now.
We should make it a lot bumpier and a lot worse. My fittest
absolutely, mate.
It was
difficult.
Yeah, it is. We're trying to rectify our away form is, I think, 2nd or 3rd in the league, but our home form for some reason hasn't been great. But yeah, we've got more home games than not in the second half of the season, so we're going to try and fix that problem.
Yeah. Now we talk about Sunday night time slot, but in mid-June, the club is going to try something different and trying to do a night match. Its first night match on a Friday night. Now, I believe that's Friday the 17th of June. Just an experiment, or is that something that the club is seriously looking at maybe staging as regular, a regular Friday night sort of a time slot? What came about that?
I at this stage, I don't believe it's something that they want to do. I think they would like to try a couple of games on a Friday night. It's going to be a big spectacle. Having a big night there, a lot of sponsors coming down on the Friday night. It's pretty much opening of the lights. We've got a fantastic set of new lights, and we haven't really had the chance to use them in an NPL game. So we thought Bentley will be the nice occasion to do that. So we're going to try and see how that goes. We know there's a lot of Friday night games, so we don't really want to probably go down that path. Sunday's always been the St Albans Sunday, the home game. But yeah, listen, if it works, there's no reason why we won't do maybe 1 or 2 or 3 Friday night games, especially maybe a few of the blockbusters.
There we go,
So
Steve.
keep an eye on that on Friday, the 17th of June, 8:30 p.m. kickoff against Bentley Greens. And on the same evening, on one of the other pitches, on pitch 2, I think the senior women will be taking on Maribyrnong Swifts at 7:30 p.m. So that'll be a huge feast of football down at St Albans, and we're looking forward to the rest of the season. But before we go, I want to ask you, KRUNI, who in your mind is the team to really watch out for? Is it South Melbourne? Is it Oakley? Is it someone else that you think will really have a barnstorming finish in the second half of the season?
And no sitting on the fence.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoever I don't pick, they're probably going to come out and get us even further. For me, I think Oakley's the complete team. South Melbourne's very, very good, and Avondale's, they're a good side, and so are some of the. I think Heidelberg is one to watch if they can get into that 6. But for me, the pick of the crop at the moment would be Oakley. There
you go, Oakley. All right, KRUNI, thank you for joining us. Like we said, on this very sombre occasion, but it is ironic that I guess on a show that's dedicated to the late MAXI SENTIC, we do feature a club, his club, St Albans Saints. And thank you very much for coming. We know it wasn't easy. We know it was difficult, but we really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing us some of the insight of what is happening down at Churchill Reserve.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks, gentlemen, for having me on, and condolences to Maxi and the family for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, KRUNI.
Good on you. That was KRUNI RAZOV, the coach of the St Albans Saints. Guys, we're going to take a very, very short break, and we'll be back with, I guess, what is the press box, the press box part of the show. Don't go away too long, and we'll come back. We'll be back very, very shortly.
You find authentic Maltese cuisine at Georgie's on Vista in the heart of Fraser Rise. We have a menu to suit everyone, which includes kids and seniors meals, and a cocktail list that will need you to come back several times to get through. Our specialty nights are a big hit. Tuesday is $20 Palmer night with a selection of Palmers to choose from. Kids eat free Wednesday night. With every paid adult meal, you get 1 free kids meal. Thursday is Maltese night. Check out the Maltese specials on our specials board. And Friday night, we have happy hour between 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Be sure to book your table to avoid disappointment. Bookings can be made via our website, georgiesonvista.com.au. See you at Georgie's on Vista. You'll find us at Caroline Springs, George Cross.
Yes, indeed. We're back for the Football Out West show, and it is now the press box. Normally, we'd have a major guest. We'd discuss certain things, whatever the issue is at the time. But tonight, Craig, we thought we'd do something just that little bit different, didn't we?
We did, Tonch. Yes, we'd open the phone lines up. We haven't done it for a long time. We're going to see if we can get some of our avid listeners to come on and talk about anything they want regarding football.
Yeah, well, folks, it's over to you, and there's a lot to talk about, whether it's internationally, whether it's nationally, whether it's locally. If anyone did know, Maxi, for those of you who have just tuned in, we've had some tragic news overnight that we just received this in the last hour, that one of our most loyal, most dedicated, most passionate fans, MAXI SENTIC, who was heavily involved in football in the western suburbs, tragically passed away. I think he was aged only 35 or 36. So it's really sad what has happened. If anyone knew, call us now on 0497 151 234. But in the meantime, before we do that, Steve, I guess let's talk about the NPL2 competition. We didn't really have a chance to get through some of the results and what you're not, but NPL2, interesting for a number of reasons. Obviously, two teams will get promoted up to NPL, and the NPL proper. We'll talk about that very shortly because there's a top-of-the-table clash yesterday. But also, next year's competition will number 14 teams. Longer season, 26 rounds as opposed to 22 rounds. Good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's going to be unanimously considered to be a good thing that the 22-round season and NPL doesn't go hand in hand. I think if you want to play a 22-round season, that's for your state league players. If you're in the NPL system, you've got to be playing the 26-round season, and I'm sure players and coaches and everyone involved will be very enthusiastic about this decision. Tonchi, would you agree with that one, Craig?
Absolutely, Steve. It's we've said it before. 22 rounds of football is not enough for your second tier of football in Australia, and the sooner the better it comes in.
Yeah, I agree. Totally, I agree. Look, whether it will dilute the talent, I don't think so. I think at NPL3 there's a lot of good teams, a lot of quality teams. And at the moment, if we take a look now at the NPL3 ladder, Steve, I mean, the teams that are really fighting for a spot in NPL2 are all teams, either A-League teams or Preston Lions, for example, or even North Sunshine Eagles, who've got the resources. In particular, the Preston Lions are, with a crowd like that, the sponsorship that they do have, the resources available to them, they're a club that certainly does belong in state league, in NPL2. But yeah, look, Western United, Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City, as you said, Craig, earlier, those players need to be playing NPL, not even NPL2, definitely not NPL3. So in essence, those clubs need to get themselves into NPL2 as quickly as possible. But Craig, your old club, North Geelong, they went in for a first versus second battle yesterday at Alco Park. Tough game, very gritty game, at times bruising. They ended up defeating Moreland City 1-0. You were there the last few years, and you saw the real emphasis on the young players, the youth coming through the ranks, and some of the players that you coached in the last couple of years are now starting to knock on the door of the first team. Mate, that would be an exciting prospect to see a lot of these youngsters given a chance to play at a higher level.
Absolutely, Tont. I'm made up for Stu Begg and the coaching team down there at North. Stu came in at the beginning of last season, very early on. Certainly had the buy-in from the players very, very early on. And as we spoke about earlier about culture, they have it in droves at that football club. Local football players, players that have come through the system there. They've got one or two that have come from other clubs. But I have to say that the togetherness that they show. I was with Stu on Friday for coffee, and he was talking about, it's the players that are doing the work. It's not him and his coaching team, the players, are going out every week and really putting the effort in. I texted him last night to say well done, and he said it was a tough result. I think you were there, Tonch. It was a tough.
Yes, yeah, very tough game.
Defender George Ellis scoring in the 37th minute. He does like getting forward as does George, but it's a fantastic win for them, and really puts a bit of daylight between them and third place. I think it's 7 points now. There we go.
Moreland Zebras had a great win, 4-0 over Werribee City. Moreland City was their first loss, and in the end, they were actually reduced to 9 men late in the game. So it was a devastating loss for Moreland City in many ways, but they've also lost 2 players there for next week's clash. But Moreland Zebras, they're starting to gain a lot of form, Steve. Big win over Werribee City, and we saw Werribee City a few weeks back against Moreland City. So we did see Moreland City in action. And that was another close game, a tough game. I think on that occasion, Moreland City defeated Zebras just by 1-0. So they're a real tough.
Werribee,
Werribee, correct, yeah. So they're a real tough and gritty team. But North Geelong to open up a sizable gap there at the halfway mark of the season. Next week I think they come up against Northcote, who absolutely got hammered 7-0 by Pasco Vale.
Friday night,
yeah. What happened there?
It's a surprise result, that one. It sort of jumps off the page, doesn't it? 7-0. Northcote's got a pretty handy side as well. I mean, Pasco Vale does too, but you think they'd be fairly even. No players sent off or anything for Northcote, so I'm not too sure what's happened there, but not the result they wanted.
6 goals in the six goals in the second half for Pasco Vale there.
Pasco Vale, something happened there. Well, definitely, as we said, MPL 3. And look, the interesting part, obviously, also will be at the other end of the table as well. Ballarat City and Whittlesea Rangers there, fighting along with Springvale White Eagles to escape that relegation zone. But Craig, if we then move along to State League 1, this will be interesting because I think it's the top 2 teams will get promoted from Northwest and the top 2 from Southeast, if I'm not mistaken. Now, on the weekend, Caroline Springs took on Banyule City. Tell us more about that game.
Yeah, it was definitely the game of the weekend in State League 1, first versus second. And I have to say, Caroline Springs, George Cross, absolutely pulverised Banyule City from the moment the whistle went to the final whistle. Banyule didn't have a kick. George Cross were just in their faces from the very moment the first whistle went. Scored some fantastic football and walked away with a very comprehensive 4-0 win that really sets them up really well going into the second half of the season. I know Eric Vasiliadis won't be resting on his laurels, and he'll be working very hard to make sure that continues. But a 7-point gap at this stage of the season is huge. And but look, Banyule very disappointed me. I've heard they play some fantastic football. I know I was speaking to their president on the sidelines. I know he was very despondent after the game as well. But a very dominant performance by Caroline Springs George Cross yesterday.
Yeah, as we can see, the score, the ladder position there, and I think earlier today, Essendon Royals defeated Whittlesea United 4-0 as well. So that
correct.
Isn't counted there. So Royals, they would have played 10 games. They're on 18 points as well. So there's not a lot between a lot of those teams now for the second spot. But Caroline Springs George Cross at the moment are looking very, very, very comfortable at the top, and they've invested so much, not just money into players and personnel, but effort into getting promoted into NPL 3 next year. And look, not only the fact that they're our major sponsor, boys, but we really, really wish Caroline Springs all the very best in getting to NPL 3, because they're a club that deserves to be playing in a higher division, a much, much higher division, not even NPL 3, but NPL, with the facilities they've got, with the amount of resources being ploughed into the football side of things. And Steve, look, you'll probably agree with me. 2023 can't come soon enough to see Caroline Springs George Cross in NPL football.
Yeah, they're unlucky not to be there this year after, they would have got up last season, but it didn't work out. But it looks like, unlike some other clubs that did well last season, that Georgies are doing well again this season, and they're in the box seat to go up. Only 11 games played, but everything going well at the halfway point. So certainly an A+ for them this season, and doing everything they can do to get up to NPL3 next season. And I can't see them not making it at the moment.
Yeah. Can I throw a spanner in the works here, gentlemen?
Yes.
Can you put that table back up for me?
The State League one?
Yeah, just something.
Let's put that up. Let's discuss something.
Look, just because we were talking about it, and yes, everybody knows I am a coach at George Cross, and it has nothing to do with that. You will see in third and fifth place, you've got Sydenham's Park result hasn't gone in either. They drew 2-2 with Clifton Hill. They were 2-0 up late into 80 minutes and ended up drawing the game 2-2. So that result hasn't gone in. But the two teams below George Cross in Brimbank Stallions and Essendon Royals have both played a game less. Now we're at the halfway stage of the season. And as we know, there was no sort of directive from Football Federation about how and what would happen should another COVID situation hit us. Hence the reasons why they start all their fixtures in the second half of the season to give them I suppose, a contingency. Now, the question I want to ask, and this is, we could probably get some answers coming in. What happens now if there is another COVID situation and the league stops? And it's not just in State League 1. There's other leagues that is certainly State League 2 as well. I know there's an issue there where teams haven't played each other once. What happens if the league gets stopped again?
Steve, thoughts?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone knows.
I don't know.
Definitely Football Victoria.
Is there information out there?
It'd be really interesting to see what Football Federation. I'm sure we're not going to get a call coming through, but it would be really interesting to see what their contingencies are because, as we know, the reason George Cross and Brimbank didn't get promoted last year was because not everybody played one another. So what happens if?
Well, if there's anyone out there who's listening to us, watching us tonight, have got their own ideas of what may happen, or anything for that matter, it doesn't matter if it's about the fixtures. What's your club doing? How's your club travelling? Give us a ring now. We'd love to know. We'd really love to know what is happening in your neck of the woods, and how is your team travelling or your club travelling? Would love to hear from clubs we don't really get a chance to hear about much. But the Football Out West talkback lines are now open. Call us on 0497 151 234, 0497 151 234. Now, Steve, you've got a little bit of, shall we talk about while we the Socceroos squad, while we wait for anyone to ring us and what you're not. But shall we talk about the Socceroos squad and I think the Socceroos squad has been announced for. There's a couple of games. There's a friendly coming up against Jordan, I think, this week sometime, and then obviously
Thursday morning at 4 a.m. And congratulations to our man Teo Palazzeri, who's going to call his first Socceroos game in that one. So that's
is that right? Yeah,
always good to see. Good news there. But what have they named? A squad of about 30 players for this particular camp, and then the subsequent matches. So. There's some interesting inclusions and omissions. I think one that's got people feeling cynical is the inclusion of Andrew Redmayne. He's probably not the best goalkeeper going around in the best form at the moment. Didn't really cover himself in glory in the recent friendly game during the week last week. And he got the nod. That's an interesting choice. Jason Davidson back in the squad for the first time since 2015. That's a long time in between drinks. For him, Bruno Fornaroli, who came into the last group, the last camp, he's been squeezed out because one of the inclusions returning is Adam Taggart, and I think it's important that he's back because when he became unavailable through injury in the last part of the campaign, that the results really went downhill when he wasn't there. So he straightens him up when he's available up front, even if he's not scoring goals. So good to see him back. And I think a lot of people wanted to see someone named of Scottish descent. That is Jason Cummings, the cum dog. He didn't get picked. He scored 10 goals for the Mariners in the back end of the season. and he missed out. So and he's expressed a desire to play for the Australian national team, of course, and a cult figure he would be just by his nickname alone and his crazy tattoos. But he misses out. So yeah, interesting to see what happens. D'Agostino gets a go as a young striker option. So I guess that's good to see. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to go. It's going to be tough. I don't know what we're going to get out of the friendly. Hopefully, we get something out of it, and then a good hit out, and then yeah, it's going to be 2 pretty tough games. If we can get to that Peru game, well, yeah, it'll be a nervy one.
I'm going to ask Craig something. I want to ask you, Craig. Craig, Redmayne, okay? I don't rate him personally, but why would someone like that get a call up? Now, is it maybe just to fill up numbers for the squad, to have, 2 maybe squads, so they're going to have an intra-club game in training, or they're going to test the keepers? Because it's unlikely that he'll get a gig. So what's the reason for that? Or, as Tony Hudson suggests, where is he? Here we go. No, that's
Arnie picks Sydney FC players. Yeah.
Arnie handing out Wonka gold tickets again. Is that a case of what must be going through a coach's, a national team coach's head when they decide to give it to sort out these players in such a critical time of the competition of the phase? Is there a feasible reason, do you think, as a coach, he would do something like that?
Who else is there? That's the question, isn't it? So you answered your question is almost a double question.
Good.
Well, we saw some good.
What Australians? So if you go through, let's go through Melbourne Victory, can't play.
Can't play Calaba. Yeah,
I'd be looking maybe up towards Gosford and saying maybe we get someone like Mark Birighitti to come in, and someone who's a little bit younger.
He's got that experience.
He was the one that I would have said over Andrew Redmayne.
Yeah, he's a bit unlucky there.
100%. I think he's been very. I think it's very stiff that he hasn't got in there. I think he's done very, very well this year. I think you're right about Andrew Redmayne. I don't think he's been the best goalkeeper in the league this year. Didn't do himself any favours in the friendly against Barcelona in midweek, did he? So look, it's a strange one. Berighetti would have been in there for me, but going back to your question, they got 3 goalkeepers for exactly that reason you said, Tonch. They need them for training and for games, and but it just seems a strange one that they've taken him over Berighetti for sure. And actually, would you not? Who's the goalkeeper that's in form at the moment? I know he's getting on in years, but who else would you have?
Well, I know who I would have chosen. I would have chosen Liam Reddy. Well, he's played at every A-League club. He might as well play at the Socceroos as well.
I think he has been picked before, hasn't he?
He has, I think.
Has he been capped before, Liam Reddy? He probably has.
I'm pretty sure he has. But look, Birighitti was straight away someone I thought. He's had the experience. He's been part of the big squads as well. And this, look, this, we won't say it's a make or break phase in the Socceroos, but if the Socceroos don't make it to the World Cup, it won't be the end of the world, but it'll be close enough to it. That's just my thing.
Well put. And just to correct myself, Liam Reddy has not been capped for the Socceroos, which is...
Has he not?
No.
There you go. Oh, well, interesting. The Football Out West talkback lines are now open. Call us now, 0497 151 234. Let's hear from some of the, well, I don't want to use the term obscure, but let's hear from some of the lesser-known clubs around. How is your club travelling at the moment? If you're part of a women's club, a women's team that played earlier today, that's the problem. We don't really get a chance to cover that because a lot of the games finish on a Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m, and we've already prepared most of the stuff that's going to go in, and it's very hard to keep a track on. Or you might have another issue, probably to do with Football Victoria or what they do or don't do. The second division, A-League, Western United, can they capitalise on this? We'd love to hear from you folks. In the meantime, we're going to take a very, very quick break, very short break. When we return, hopefully we'll have someone on our talkback lines. It's 0497 151 234. That's 0497 151 234.
You find authentic Maltese cuisine? At Georgie's on Vista, in the heart of Fraser Rise. We have a menu to suit everyone, which includes kids and seniors meals, and a cocktail list that will need you to come back several times to get through. Our specialty nights are a big hit. Tuesday is $20 Palmer night with a selection of Palmers to choose from. Kids eat free Wednesday night. With every paid adult meal, you get one free kids meal. Thursday is Maltese night. Check out the Maltese specials on our specials board. And Friday night we have happy hour between 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Be sure to book your table to avoid disappointment. Bookings can be made via our website, georgesonvista.com.au. See you at George's on Vista. You'll find us at Caroline Springs, George Cross. George's on Vista is in the heart of Fraser Rise. You'll find us at Caroline Springs, George Cross. Looking for a bit of fun with your meals? Tuesday night is bingo night. Bingo books are $2, eyes down at $7. And we have a special bingo menu for you to choose from, so be sure to get in early and grab a bite to eat beforehand. Friday night is poker night. Registration is from 6:30 p.m, with poker starting at 7:30 p.m. Why not join us beforehand for happy hour? Kicks off at 5:30. We're also on Uber Eats, so you can enjoy your favourite Georgie's meals in the comfort of your own home. Find us on the app. Dining in? Be sure to book your table to avoid disappointment. Bookings can be made via our website, georgesonvista.com.au.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. The talkback lines are open now. You can call us on 0497 151 234. And Craig, we may have our first caller on the line.
Hopefully technology works, Tonch. We do. Joey G, the legend from
Joey
Geelong.
Joey, can we hear you? Hello, Joey Joe. Joey Giacomazzo. Can we hear you? Can we put him on loudspeaker?
Yeah, we'll have to. I think it's not going through. Joey.
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, we can't, mate.
Put him on loudspeaker. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's not coming through, mate.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh, that's better.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Hi, Joey. G'day, mate.
Joey, can you hear us? What did you want to talk about tonight on the Football Out West show?
Thank you. I've been tempted to come on, talk about the National Second Division. It's something that's been on my mind for quite some time, and how it's all going to work and pan out and all that kind of crazy stuff.
Fire away.
What are your thoughts
Go
on it?
on.
To be honest with you, if we're going to have a National Second Division, what kind of teams are going to be in this National Second Division? Are we going to have, is it going to be, for example, 2 teams representing from Victoria or 2 teams representing from Adelaide and New South Wales and Canberra and all those kind of things? How do you guys think it's going to work? It's just a bit of a confusing way that they don't really talk about how the participation is going to work and all that kind of thing. It's just a confusing time for everybody, I guess.
Steve?
Craig. Or Steve. Steve, you go first.
Who wants to? This is a can of worms, isn't it? Who wants to go first? Well, in terms of the composition of the league, well, I think that the real question at the moment, the first one that we want the answer for is what will be the format and the structure. So are we going to get a full competition that exists across the whole nation? Are they going to do some conferences, or are they going to do our even less preferred option, which is some form of sort of Champions League style competition between NPL teams, which we kind of don't really need because we've already had an NPL cross NPL final series at the end of the season in previous years anyway. So look, hopefully it's the full throttle version, which is the whole nation. And then once you get to that point, then it really opens up the door to say, well, what is the composition of the league? So first of all, how many teams are we looking at, and then what is the allocations? Or is, like you say, Joey, is it the allocations that are not so much based on geography, but more just on merit? And perhaps merit should have a bigger say, first and foremost, ahead of predetermined allocations via state and territory. What do you think, Joey?
To be honest with you, I see how the NPL, whoever wins the NPL, they all go through like their own final series. Are they going to have a combination of all those teams that win it, and then say the six teams that say come second and third? Because that would be an interesting way to do it, to be honest with you. Because when I look at the national second tier, what will be of it? You know what I mean? Are they going to allow teams with suburban-esque grounds, or are they going to have to go down the route of getting themselves a stadium just because that's the condition that you have to be in the national second tier?
Look, I think we don't really know, Joe. That's the issue that we have. We had I'm trying to think of the chap's name from the
We had Nick Galatas come on
Nick Galatas, sorry, yeah,
a couple of times.
And obviously there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes. I believe that the league is due to start next season, if I'm right.
Yeah, that's what the talk was. Yeah,
I feel like that's getting further and further towards 2024. Like, we haven't heard anything. It's what is it? It's almost June.
Yeah,
maybe not next year.
Maybe not.
I think clubs having more notice will be better. So
second tier is like, it's going to be a great thing to me, Australian football, because it's going to allow us to see different kinds of players than ones that we haven't seen, say, watching in the A-League. Like, we could discover the next best national team goal scorer via these national second division. You know what I mean? Like, we could be watching teams like Marconi and like AP Leichhardt in the league if they do come up, and maybe they might have an answer to some of these teams. We just don't know until this league comes about, and if this league, is as popular with the people as all the leagues around football and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, look, I think we all want this second division. We all want it as quick as we can for football. It needs a second division, but I think there's just so many uncertainties around it, Joey, that nobody really knows until somebody literally comes out and says, right, these are the 16 teams, these are the 12 teams that have applied, these are the ones we've given licenses to. Only then will we know how the structure is going to work, I think. So it's a great question, but I'm not sure we're the right guys for that, unfortunately, mate.
we can only speculate, I guess. And
with the national team obviously going through a very interesting time at the moment, could this national second division be a catalyst to discovering unknown players that maybe can help out in the national team if they could goal scoring records are up to scratch with the league? That would be something that would really help out the league or help out just the national team, because there'll be other players that can add something different to the squad than the players we've seen over the past decade.
Yeah, look, my personal opinion, and I'll let the guys have their say, my personal opinion is that I'd love to see it as an under-23s league, but that's not going to happen. It would be fantastic to have the A-League and then an under-23s under that, promoting the youngsters, because I'm sure if you've got local youngsters playing every week in a high-quality league, that the numbers of spectators will grow. That's my own personal opinion. Having seen it done in Europe, it would be what I would want. But I said, I don't think it would happen because it's just the infrastructure is not able to be able to do that.
But gents, we also got to get rid of maybe the romance of having under 23 players or having this high level sort of league that's going to lift the quality of it. It comes back down to dollars and cents, or maybe not so much cents these days. No one looks at that, but dollars. End of the day, some of those clubs, like Steve, you mentioned Merritt, I think, some of those clubs that get to the NPL playoffs pre-COVID, they were clubs that were not very marketable. I mean, I don't know, Adamstown, Rosebud, Campbelltown City from South Australia. Who else? Blacktown City from New South Wales. Yeah. Great, fantastic, but they weren't crowd pulling, especially on the national.
I think that merit is extended to not only on the field, but definitely like what are you doing off the field? Yep. What have you got a good women's program? Are you pulling crowds to your games? Are you good at putting out merchandise? Do you have do you have a good venue? It's like you can't just have a team who's just winning everything, but they've got no one who wants to know about them.
But the point I'd like to make is it could be a developmental league, Craig, not just for young players, but for clubs. So before the clubs actually go into the A-League, there is talk about expansion and whatnot, and the next club may be from Tasmania, may be from Canberra, it may be a second Brisbane team. Would you like to see clubs sort of almost spend like a little bit of an incubation period in this national second division before they kind of get their infrastructure ready, sort of, at 25% capacity, and then when they're ready to go, they get not promoted, but accepted into the A-League? Would that be one way of getting these clubs to get their stuff right before they actually go into the big party?
Yeah, there's a case for that, isn't there? But we've just spoken about a team that's been, only in the league for 3 years and have just won the grand final. So and they haven't got all their eggs in baskets, have they? You know, they haven't got their own stadium, they haven't got their academy set up. How long does that take to get that set up? Is I suppose the questions. Are their grounds up to scratch? Do they have the academy? Do they have a women's team? There'll be lots of questions that need to be answered. You know, if we look back at the last 10 years, Steve, you would probably know better than me. Central Coast Mariners have finished in the bottom of the league in how many years?
Several consecutive, if I'm
Seven
right.
consecutive, finished with a wooden spoon. So, look, again, until the AAAFC come out and say what's going to happen, I think we can just talk about this till the cows come home. So,
it's an interesting topic, and thank you, Joey Giacomazzo, for bringing it up. That is a really interesting topic, and I'm certainly not one that's going to go away very quickly, and it shouldn't, because that has been talked about now for a few years. And as you said, Craig, it is scheduled to start next year. And look, I think as long as they get the process right, and even if the first year is almost like I won't say slapped together sort of a thing, but as long as they've got it right and said, this is how you're going to be able to get in. We might only have 12 clubs for the first year, but year 2, we're going to expand it to 16, and this is how we're going to so that people know in advance. But anyway, definitely.
It might not be a 16-team tournament, might it? It might be a 10-team tournament, a 12-team tournament, or even an 8-team for that first year. And then you have the teams coming on once they're ready. It's not a one size fits all. I think Nick Galatis said that. It's very difficult to try and implement, but it'd be great to see.
Call us, folks, now 0497 151 234. The talkback lines are open. We will take one more caller if we can, if there's anyone there. So the Football West talkback lines. Here's your opportunity to set the agenda. We constantly talk about the fans having their say. Now we're giving the opportunity for people listening in, watching this show, to have their say, or maybe just to give a plug out to your local club, whatever that club is. How did they go on the weekend? Did they do well? Are they doing well off the field? Is there anything exciting happening at your club? We'd love to hear from you, whoever you may be. 0497 151 234. Steve, we're back for the Geelong Region Soccer Show tomorrow, and then the Oscro Soccer Show. There will be a special tribute to MAXI SENTIC on Tuesday night's show. That's Tuesday night this week, not Wednesday, at 8:30 p.m. Have we got anyone on the line, Craig?
No, we haven't, Tonch. Unfortunately, we're not good with getting people to phone in. They all want to have a say in the comments, but they don't want to come on and chat to us. So it's something that we're trying to push. It is, at the end of the day, it is your show. Come on and have your say. But maybe next week we'll get some guests coming on.
Yeah, look, we appreciate. There was once upon a time we used to get angry for people not becoming active and not getting involved, but we do appreciate those people that do contribute in the comments section. B, to everyone that does tune in and watch it, and especially we're very, very thankful to our major sponsors, Caroline Springs, George Cross, who have been absolutely amazing this year, as they have over the course of the 4 seasons that we've had this show. Episode 90. Not one that was easy to put together. Gents, I thank you very much for gritting your teeth and getting through this episode tonight.
And you too, mate, as well.
Yeah. So. This episode was dedicated to our good friend and a loyal listener of the show, MAXI SENTIC, who tragically passed away overnight. We believe it was a heart attack in his sleep. And our condolences go out to his young wife, Maya, his young daughter, and I believe there's also another on the way, and to everyone who knew him. Sad, very, very sad. And on that somber note, we leave you tonight. Go home. If you are not home, hug and kiss your most loved ones, because we're here today and not tomorrow. On that note, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Craig, thanks for being a part of the show. We look forward to your contribution next week.
Thank you, Tonch, and thanks everybody, and well done on tonight, mate. I know it was it's never easy, but got through it well, mate. So well done.
Good on you guys. Thank you, Steve. We'll see you tomorrow for the Geelong Region Soccer Show.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. for the Geelong Region Soccer Show.
Good night, folks. Once again, thank you sincerely for being a part of tonight's show. Good night.
Thank you and good night.